Have you ever felt so exhausted that no matter how much you slept, no matter how many vitamins you took, you still woke up feeling completely drained? That was my reality for years. I tried everything, pills, supplements, lifestyle changes, but nothing seemed to work. What I did not know back then was that I was missing the root cause entirely. I was chasing symptoms while the real problem kept running in the background, quietly stealing my energy day after day. Today, I am going to walk you through the 7 real reasons why you are tired, and more importantly, how to finally get your energy back for good. So stay with me because this one could genuinely change everything for you. Before we dive in, let me tell you something personal. Out of everything I have studied and practiced over the years, fatigue is the one area where I consider myself a true expert. Not because I read it in a textbook, but because I lived it. For years, I was exhausted beyond what most people can imagine. I tried every pill and supplement on the market, but nothing worked. And looking back, the reason is so clear. I was treating the symptoms and completely ignoring the source. Every solution I chased was surface level. It was not until I started digging deeper, asking harder questions, and looking at what was really happening underneath, that everything finally changed. And when it did, it genuinely felt like lifting a heavy helmet right off my head. So let us get into the first reason you are tired, and that is adrenal fatigue caused by too much cortisol. Cortisol is your stress hormone, and here's the thing most people do not realize. When your body is under chronic stress, it switches to running on glucose no matter what you are eating. Cortisol is actually called a glucocorticoid because it mobilizes glucose from your liver and even converts protein and fat into sugar through a process called gluconeogenesis. Now, what does that actually mean for you? It means your bloodstream gets flooded with glucose, your blood sugar spikes hard, and then insulin comes crashing it back down. That crash is what leaves you feeling completely wiped out, foggy, and reaching for your 3rd cup of coffee before noon. Sound familiar? Now here is where it gets even more interesting. There is a small structure in your brain called the amygdala, and it functions similarly to your adrenal glands, but handles a very specific type of stress, which is fear. Whether it is shyness, anxiety, worry, or full-blown panic, all of those are fear states being processed right there in the amygdala. And when the amygdala becomes overactive, it disrupts your sleep, keeps you locked in a constant state of high alertness, and quietly drains your energy reserves around the clock. Here is the key insight I want you to hold on to. Fear is fundamentally about avoidance. The more you avoid what frightens you, the stronger its grip becomes. But the moment you actually face what you fear, it begins losing its power over you almost immediately. So what can you actually do about adrenal fatigue and an overactive amygdala? Let me give you the practical side of this. The first remedy is vitamin B1, ideally from Nutritional yeast. This is not your average supplement. Nutritional yeast contains a whole complex of B vitamins that work together to have a deeply calming effect on your nervous system. It is one of the most underrated tools for stress recovery. The second is ashwagandha, an adaptogenic herb that literally increases your body's tolerance to stress over time. Beyond supplements, sleep is critical, and so is physical work. Not just exercise, but actual physical labor, because it burns through that built-up stress energy that keeps you wired at night. These are not complicated fixes, but they are genuinely powerful when applied consistently. The second major reason you are tired is poor sleep, and this connects directly back to cortisol. When your adrenals are overactive, cortisol stays elevated during the hours it should be at its absolute lowest, specifically between midnight and 2 in the morning. This is precisely when your body is meant to be in its deepest recovery state, repairing tissue, consolidating memory, and restoring energy reserves. I personally struggled with this pattern for years, lying awake when I should have been deeply asleep. One of the most overlooked solutions involves melatonin, but not the kind you find at a pharmacy. There is a deeper form of melatonin stored inside your cells themselves, and the most effective way to increase it is through regular infrared light exposure, something most people have never even considered. Here is something that might genuinely surprise you. Over 50% of the sun's rays are actually infrared, and that infrared light boosts melatonin at a cellular level. This is not the melatonin you buy at a pharmacy. This is deeper, stored inside your cells, and it does two powerful things. It dramatically improves your sleep, and it acts as an antioxidant even more potent than glutathione. If you cannot get regular sunlight, a fireplace, candles, or red light therapy can offer similar benefits. But here is the flip side. The screens on your computers and phones emit light that actively depletes your melatonin. That is a major reason so many people lie awake at night feeling completely wired despite being exhausted all day. Simply reducing your screen time before bed is one of the most effective and underrated changes you can make right now. The third reason you may be exhausted is post-viral syndrome. If you have ever had COVID, the flu, or any viral infection and never quite felt the same afterward, this part is specifically for you. The medical term is myalgic encephalomyelitis, which essentially describes a combination of muscle pain, brain inflammation, and persistent fatigue. Now here is what I genuinely believe is happening beneath the surface. When your immune system goes into full battle mode against a virus, that intense response burns through your B vitamins, particularly B1 and B3, at a rapid rate. So the fatigue that lingers long after the infection is gone is not really about the virus anymore. It is a nutritional deficiency in disguise. Replenishing those vitamins through nutritional yeast, along with vitamin D3 and zinc, can make a truly dramatic difference in how you feel. There is another layer to the post-viral story that most people never hear about, and that is latent viruses. Many of us carry dormant viruses from past infections, like Epstein-Barr virus, sitting quietly in our bodies, waiting for the right moment to reactivate. And what wakes them up? Stress. Remember, cortisol suppresses the immune system, which is exactly why stress opens the door for these old infections to resurface and drain your energy all over again. This is also why grief and personal loss can trigger chronic fatigue. When you go through bereavement, cortisol spikes, immunity drops, and dormant viruses can wake up almost overnight. So if you have been through a major loss and suddenly feel exhausted for months afterward, this could be exactly why. Addressing the stress in these cases is not optional. It is absolutely essential to your recovery. The fourth cause of fatigue is Lyme disease, which comes from a specific type of bacteria called a spirochete. What makes Lyme so tricky is that most of the symptoms you experience are actually your own immune system trying and failing to eliminate the bacteria. It is not the bacteria itself doing all the damage. It is your body's response to it. Natural antimicrobials like oregano, garlic, thyme, and sage can genuinely help support your immune response without the harsh side effects that come with conventional antibiotics. Now the fifth cause is insulin resistance. If you are eating a high-carbohydrate diet, your brain is essentially being put to sleep after every single meal. Switching to a ketogenic diet and incorporating intermittent fasting can honestly be the single biggest shift you ever make for your energy levels. The sixth reason you may be exhausted is low stomach acid, and this one is surprisingly common, especially as we age. Without adequate stomach acid, your body cannot properly absorb B12 or iron, both of which are essential for preventing anemia. You also lose the ability to break down protein efficiently, which directly impacts your energy levels throughout the day. Low stomach acid also makes you vulnerable to small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, known as SIBO, which brings its own wave of fatigue and digestive issues that can feel impossible to shake. The solution is a combination of apple cider vinegar and betaine hydrochloride taken before meals. This approach helps restore your digestive environment, though it may take several weeks of consistent use to see real, lasting results. The seventh and final cause of fatigue is nutritional deficiencies, and while B12 and iron often get the spotlight, two minerals that are frequently overlooked are potassium and magnesium. Every single cell in your body relies on a sodium-potassium pump to generate electrical energy, and most people are not getting nearly enough potassium. The simplest way to fix this is by eating large salads regularly. Leafy greens are packed with both potassium and magnesium, which are both directly involved in ATP production, the energy currency of your cells. Think of ATP as the actual fuel your body burns to keep you going throughout the day. On the days I skip my big salad, I genuinely notice the difference in my energy levels, and that tells me everything I need to know. Now that we have covered all 7 causes, let us talk about priorities, because trying to fix everything at once without a clear order is exactly what kept me stuck for so long. The most important starting point is your diet. Getting on a ketogenic diet and practicing intermittent fasting creates the foundation. Everything else builds on. I spent years taking supplements on top of a high-carbohydrate diet and wondering why nothing worked. The diet has to come first. Once your body is running on ketones instead of glucose, your brain becomes clearer, your energy stabilizes, and everything else you do becomes significantly more effective. Think of it as clearing the static before tuning into the signal. Without this foundation, you are essentially building on sand. The second priority is managing your stress so your sleep can improve, because these two are deeply intertwined. You simply cannot fix one without addressing the other. Use vitamin B1 from nutritional yeast, ashwagandha, physical work, and infrared light exposure as your core toolkit. These are not random suggestions. They directly target the cortisol and melatonin pathways we discussed earlier. The third priority is addressing any underlying post-viral or latent viral issues, which means loading up on B1, vitamin D3, zinc, and natural antioxidants like NAC. These 3 priorities in order: diet first, then stress and sleep, then post-viral recovery, represent the clearest path back to sustained energy that I have found in all my years of research and personal experience. Follow this sequence and everything begins to shift. So here is the big picture takeaway. Fatigue is not a mystery, and it is not something you just have to live with. It has real causes and real solutions. Whether it is cortisol overload, disrupted sleep, a lingering virus, insulin resistance, low stomach acid, or nutritional gaps, every single one of these can be addressed. I know because I went from being completely exhausted for years to finally waking up with energy and clarity, and I have seen tens of thousands of people do the same. Start with your diet, work on your stress, support your body with the right nutrients, and give yourself the time to heal. Your body wants to recover. It just needs the right conditions to do so. With that said, thanks for watching, and until next time.